Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a real butthead, it's Niall Moore.
All right, butthead.
You and I haven't talked in 12 years, and then the first thing I introduce you as is a real butthead.
Hey, well, it fits the topic, right?
I can't say butthead like Biff, though. The way Biff calls people butthead, that guy just emphasizes the words so well. In this movie, Spaceman from Pluto.
A definite, gruff kind of, there's a real, venom in it, I guess, is the way I put it.
Yeah, hey, I think he emphasizes butthead. I can't do it. I've been trying. So thanks for coming on and talking about Spaceman from Pluto with me.
Yeah, hey, no worries. Yeah, as you know, I studied the old space science back in the day when I was undergrad, so it's right up my alley.
Nice. So, I'm really happy that everyone, Bob Gale, Bob Zemeckis, Steven Spielberg, listened to Sid Sheinberg's notes, and they changed it from Back to the Future to Spaceman from Pluto. I think that's a much better name.
It's the 1950s theme was much better.
And I kind of loved how they brought in 1950s creature features into this movie. When Marty shows up in the 50s, they immediately are like, that's an alien, that's a monster, because of just the atomic age at the time. So I love that.
Yeah, I thought, well, if you just look at the movie in general, there's not a wasted shot. Every single thing is just so tight. It's like, okay, why has he got a radiation suit? It's like, well, he needs to set up this shot later, and it's brilliant.
You and I both read a book about this to get ready for it, and then we also watched all the documentaries, and it's kind of crazy how they wrote the script on this. They're like, okay, he's skateboarding in the beginning, he invents skateboarding. He plays rock and roll with a giant amp, he's going to play rock and roll later. It's going to be too loud later. There's a truck he wants, he gets the truck at the end. Biff wrecks the car, Biff is cleaning the car at the end. It's ridiculous how just everything kind of connects. It's just but I can see, would that maybe take the fun out of writing the script? It makes it a brilliant script, but you're just putting note cards. Okay, so we have this, so we need this. We have this, so we need this. But it's almost brilliant.
It's kind of like the ultimate expression of Chekhov's gun. It's basically
everything.
If we show it, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, everything in this movie, the uncle is in jail, and then he sees the kid in his little crib, and he hates leaving it.
Yeah, it's again that's just a little fun throwaway. That's just kind of there to.
I might lose my movie lover's card, but this movie, I wasn't familiar with how tight this script is until I just started recently watching it and researching it. So as a kid, I went to watch Back to the Future 2 before I watched Back to the Future 1. And I went, what just happened? That was a dark movie. I was 7 years old. And then I watched Back to the Future 3. And then years later, I went to Back to the Future 1. I'm like, that was a good movie. But I was whenever I think about Back to the Future, it's always 2. So I never figured out how tight this film was or how big the fan base was. So I don't know if you know this, but after I left Korea, so Niall and I met in Korea. He's actually responsible for me having a permanently dismembered pinky finger. Just want to let everyone know that.
Yeah.
So he was a goalie on the Cheongju Tigers. And then I think one day he didn't want to play goalie anymore. So I had just arrived to Korea and he's like, hey man, take my spot at goalie. So I took your spot and then I got my finger completely obliterated in a soccer game. And I'm walking around a Korean town with my finger bent backwards and sideways like a 90-degree angle. And I'm just scaring people on the street because they don't know what I'm doing. Then eventually a doctor snapped it back in place, and now I have a permanently disfigured. So, I know the guy kicked it, and I dove for it, and there's a lot of factors, but you're the one that got me there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, but so after I left Korea,
to be goalie.
I love goalie, though. I loved it. And then I went to defense, and that was even better. I just, those dogs are like, there's a ball, I'm going to get it. That was me.
Yeah.
Playing all limbs flying. But so I started working Comic-Cons. I didn't really know much how popular Back to the Future was, but we were working this Comic-Con. It was in Chicago. It was one of the biggest in the country in 2011. And I saw this. We were really understaffed. We worked really hard, great staff. But I saw this line of about 200 people. And I walked up to him what are you guys in line for? We're in line for Christopher Lloyd. I'm like, Dad, but this isn't his line. Why are you here? And they're like, well, he was standing here. So I had to take 200 people, and I had to bring them to a line with about 300 people already. And what they were there for was a photo op with Christopher Lloyd in a DeLorean. Oh, wow. And I don't know what happened, but it was all it was is an octagon of railing around a DeLorean. and I had no room to get 500 people. So what I did was I just circled them around each other. You know,
Right.
like this
It's
kind
like
of circle. Never again in my Comic-Con life did something work so harmoniously. I just think everyone saw me, and I kind of kept my cool, and I sort of figured it out quick. And we got everyone through. I got all the photographs, and at the end of it, Christopher Lloyd was like, "Hey, Mark, come here." And I took a photo with him in the DeLorean, and he was like, the coolest dude. But I was like, man, 500 people for the DeLorean. I'm like, what's this all about? And then I started like seeing just the lines in every single Comic-Con, and there's like a cult around this movie. And then we've also I sent you the article, all these perfect movies have come out. So James Gunn, Chris Pratt, there's all these 5 perfect movies. And Back to the Future's on like a third of them. And everyone...
Well, they actually teach it in one of the California universities. They teach Back to the Future as the perfect movie.
Wow. I mean, the script, right? I mean, that's a tight script.
Yeah, it's in their like screenwriting class. Like they teach it basically as... an example of, the perfect movie.
Wow. And I know at the time they were like, man, what is this script? Like, this is not the script. Like, why are you writing this script? Like, they didn't think it was the full...
Well, they shot around, I think it was over 40 times they ended up, like, getting rejected before it finally got made.
Yeah, Disney didn't want the incest, and then other people wanted it more like Porky's.
So basically, yeah, it was too incesty for Disney and not incesty enough for...
We need more. We give it. And,
Game of Thrones, 1985.
You go full Cersei and Jamie. Jeez Louise, how times have changed. But yeah, I mean,
a dark remake somewhere on the internet.
Would you put that in your top 5 perfect movies?
Yeah, I think so. I know it would be difficult to kind of think of. I think I'd put Die Hard up there. Like I'm a big Die Hard fan.
That's a classic. That was like a summer blockbuster that became a Christmas film.
Yeah.
Which I love. I made like a cheeky list. I put Seven Samurai. I put Green Room, Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea's got to be on there, Niall.
Well, I'm aware of your predilection towards that movie. It has got, I think, one of the best death scenes of any movie, like where Sam Jackson's giving his like epic speech and he just gets chomped in half. Like I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Like I saw it in the theater and I was like, yes. This is hilarious. I love it. I was working in a theater. Seeing, is it Raquel Weisz, swimming around, basically a bikini.
Oh yeah, Saffron Burrows.
Yeah. So I can get on board with this.
And that shark was waiting for her for hours, and then it waited for her to pull out the research before it tried to kill her, so then the sharks could destroy the research that they had. That's my theory.
You've watched that movie way too many times, bro.
I really have. It's become... But, that's what's funny. The thing is, and I know I'm not talking about Back to the Future, but that's what got me most of my attention. So a guy from Wired read my because I did a ton of data about Deep Blue Sea. He read it, then he interviewed me. And then Rotten Tomatoes read my Deep Blue Sea stuff, and then they offered me a writing job. And then Kraft...
Yeah, I've been doing like a lot of like random tomato meter based. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I've been with them for like almost 3 years now, I guess, because all my Deep Blue Sea stuff now.
Yeah, there you go.
Neat. I know Back to the Future. I know there's an entire podcast about it. I know there's like everything's been covered kind of ad nauseum. But like before all this happened, what kind of led you to loving it?
I guess like it's the time travel aspect originally. I think it's something that's always fascinated me. Like I think when the first one came out, obviously I was too young to really kind of understand it. So similar to you, like I remember seeing parts 2 and 3 very clearly. But I don't like my neighbor just down the road. He got like the VHS box set, I think, when it came out in like 1992. And, we spent like one day just watching like 1, 2, and 3. And what I loved about like particularly part 2 was the vision of the future. Because if you look at like comparable kind of, movies that show the future, like they're all kind of either dystopian or like idyllic far in the future. You've got your Star Trek, where everyone loves each other and everything's wonderful. You've got your Mad Max kind of futures where everything is ruined.
Everyone's wearing leather, killing each other.
This was the mundane future where it's like, it's kind of in the future. There's like some new technology, but it's not like that out there. Back in the early 90s, I was like, yeah, flying cars could totally be a thing in 30 years.
Hoverboards too? That scene was cool.
It just seemed like these are things that could exist.
Jaws 19.
Yeah, the funniest thing is they almost managed to predict the Cubs winning the World Series. Like, I think that was absolutely hilarious.
It's you know what I kind of like about it? What I liked as a kid was Marty McFly was just a high schooler, and what I liked about movies in the '80s that like really drew me towards them, like Goonies, Ferris Bueller, Stand by Me, kids, high school kids, all these like they could go on adventures. Does that make sense? Like they
Yeah, there was definitely like that genre of movies that was kind of aimed at the kind of middle school kind of kid. It's like, look, this could happen to you. You know, you could be on this adventure.
And then, I mean, Michael J. Fox, too. I don't know if you were watching the Eric Stoltz comparison with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, I've seen the footage. It's just like a completely different tone.
Yeah, and Fox, man, he's just so good in this movie. I was talking to my wife Megan. We were on a walk. You know, it's like one of the most active things we can do is just go walk around. And we were kind of talking about the movie. And she's like, Michael J. Fox kind of has a certain something. There's a charisma to Fox. And you know what I like most, too, is when he first sees that there's time travel, he's like, you turned a DeLorean into a time traveling machine. Like you made you time travel in the DeLorean, and then his face, he's in shock when he sees his dad. Shock. He doesn't take it. You know, in some of these movies where people are nonplussed about seeing dinosaurs.
Yeah.
He looks freaked out the whole time, and there's a manic energy to the whole thing. I think that just keeps it moving forward, and Fox is a big reason.
Like, you know, when you go the way he does it, like it just adds like he's got great comic timing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Added to like the expressiveness of his reactions, and then you've got Christopher Lloyd kind of opposite it, who's got this whole mad scientist thing going, and it just works.
I love that line when he's like, "You're gonna see some serious shit." I would love to do like people have done like the best F-bomb and PG-13 movies, but I would like to do like the best someone saying the word shit in a movie. Like I think it's the perfect shit, and they even like drop manure on him. Is that seeing some serious?
Yeah. I think he shouts shit in that as well. So.
Shit. I don't know. It just makes me happy watching that. And you know, we were kind of watching this documentary about it, and I think I almost like it more now knowing how Zemeckis and Gale got this done. Like they made Used Cars, one more movie together, and then with Spielberg. But then they're like, we got to go out on our own. We got to do our own thing. And then they made Romancing the Stone, which was huge.
Yeah, and then the studio kind of gave them, it's like, hey, you guys are all right. You could like the thing is, if you look at Zemeckis, like if you take that period of time from like 1984 through to 1994, he's done like some movies that I love. The Back to the Future trilogy, Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump. Those are all like movies I love.
Box office, they were huge at the box office too. I mean, like what? Yeah, Back to the Future, yeah, Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump, and then Contact. I don't think was that big, right? But it was
like Contact. Like it was not what I expected going in. I guess if I'd read the source material, I would have been kind of more aware of like what was going on. But yeah, it was kind of a nice sci-fi movie. It was
thoughtful, smart.
Did Independence Day come out that year as well? Possibly. Like it was kind of a
the year before. I think Armageddon came out like 98 Armageddon. So it was like sandwiched between bombastic science fiction movies, and here's this thoughtful thing. But imagine if you're the marketing department, Niall, and you get handed Contact. And Jodie Foster's super hot, Zemeckis is hot, but that's like a tough movie to market. Right? Yeah. Because it's just a lot of math and patience and I don't know. So I guess they had to have marketed, Armageddon, if you liked Independence Day.
Years of Independence Day comes a quiet, introspective look at the nature of First Contact.
I like that. You should get into the marketing department, man.
Yeah.
Knock that thing out. But
employers that. I go to enough meetings as it is.
Oh, really? We won't go further on that. But no, I just watching this movie, it's just interesting how the whole process of it. I mean, the time machine was a refrigerator.
Yeah.
At first, and there was a monkey named Shemp. It's just
the whole